Hello, you're very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup with me, Roisin the Cleric.
And me, Paul Brophy. And we're up here outside Leinster House, Roisin, and we're joined by Gael Senator Garret Kelleher. Garrett, you're very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you, Roisin.
Garrett, I was really intrigued, and you got my interest the other day. We were talking on the phone, and you said you were talking about the balanced regional development and the importance of regional government. No one else is talking about that, and I'm sure our viewers and our listeners don't know about it. So, can you tell us about the regional governments and the importance of it?
Yeah, well, I suppose at a very basic level, Roisin, you have three tiers of government in Ireland. So you have central government, Dáil and Shannon. You have local government, the 949 councillors around the country. But in between the two, you have three regional assemblies, which meet regularly and look after the concerns of their own regions. So the regional assemblies are made up of elected city and county councillors around the country in the three respective areas. So the three areas being the Southern Regional Assembly area, which is effectively Munster plus three South Leinster counties. So you have the 9 counties to the south. So the 6 Munster counties plus Carlow, Kilkenny and Wexford. You have the Eastern and Midlands region, which is effectively Dublin and North Leinster. And the third regional assembly area then is the Northern and Western Regional Assembly, which would be Connacht and the 3 Ulster counties in the 26.
And and you meet regularly, I believe, in the Waterford.
Yeah, so I'm no longer a regional assembly member, but I had been previously prior to getting elected to the Shannon. So it's comprised, as I said, of the city and county councillors. So each local authority, depending on its size, will send a certain number of members to the regional assembly where issues of regional importance will be discussed. But I suppose where there might be a little bit of a democratic deficit is that, first of all, like the work of the regional assembly doesn't tend to be kind of scrutinised at national or indeed at regional level when it comes to media. And second of all, those who attend regional assemblies, the regional assembly members aren't directly elected. They're nominated by the 31 local authorities to the assembly. So in that sense, then there aren't direct elections to the regional assemblies. And then when councillors go door to door looking for votes every 5 years, councillors and prospective council candidates, key regional issues when it comes to infrastructural investment, issues like renewable energy, water, climate action, key infrastructural projects, they don't tend to be discussed. And when councillors and council candidates go looking for votes from door to door every 5 years, the issues tend to be local issues, tend to be kind of individual issues around housing. There can be maintenance of roads, the condition of roads, conditions of footpaths, hedges that need to be cut back, local issues that kind of tend to dominate the day-to-day work of the 949 councillors around the country. So in that sense, I suppose regional assemblies, the work of the regional assemblies can tend to be overlooked. But I think it's of crucial importance if you're looking to aspire to create a better country at EU level, because a lot of the regional work would be funding streams that would kind of go to the regions from the European Union. But at EU level, they speak about the principle of subsidiarity, and effectively that is local decisions impacting on local communities should be taken as close to those communities as possible. And with the abolition of town councils in Ireland, our 31 local authorities are as local as it gets. But within that then I suppose you've your municipal district structure. But at regional level, key capital projects, I think, don't get the emphasis that they deserve. And if we're serious about creating balanced regional development in Ireland and seeing rural areas, rural towns and cities outside of the greater Dublin area thriving, then we must make sure that there are budgetary commitments made, to ensure that this happens. And I know that we had a conversation, I suppose, prior to recording, in relation to the state of play at the moment, and in if you go back and look at the 2022 census, there's slightly less than half of the population living in the Eastern and Midlands Regional Assembly area, effectively the Greater Dublin area. Yet that area is, depending on what area of funding you're looking at, but for public tenders above 1 million, over a 4 or 5 year period, it was getting 2/3 of the investment. And for the larger public tenders over 20 million, projects over 20 million, it was getting north of 3/4 for less than half of the population. And I think that that's something that needs to be rectified and that imbalance addressed if you want to see rural communities and country areas and the regions thrive. Because if we've learned anything from COVID, it's the possibility of adapting to people's circumstances and enabling people to work from home. Broadband has been a huge success nationally, so we need to build on that by giving people, the opportunity to live in their communities and not be kind of Dublin centric in our thinking when it comes to development of the regions.
And Garrett, the National Development Plan has a big role to play in this. That's where we find the funds and we allocate it accordingly. In how we allocate funds, should we look at it more in a spread, or, as you said, at the moment it seems to be more Dublin centric?
Yeah, no, that's a very fair point, Paul. And I suppose you'd have your policies like the likes of Project Ireland 2040. And you'd have national planning framework, which would kind of set out aspirations. And one of the aspirations would be that half of the growth in terms of population and jobs, between now and 2040, would be in the two regions that I would consider to have been deprived historically. But in order for that to be achieved, and for us not to have disproportionate population growth and jobs growth in the Dublin area, we need to have meaningful investment in the regions. And as you rightly said, that the national planning, or I beg your pardon, the National Development Plan is the main channel, through which those commitments can be made and projects included. And thinking of I'm speaking with a colleague of mine now, Senator Sean Kine, about the importance, and I think he's speaking to Shannon today, about the importance of the proposed light rail for Galway.
Yep.
In Cork, we're already at a reasonably advanced stage in the plans for the light rail, but I was speaking in the Shannon last week about my view that the current plans don't go far enough, in that we need to have a more ambitious light rail that accounts for a significant population on the western side of Cork City. And I think that if that is addressed properly, and if that particular scheme, and that's only one of many, if that is delivered properly, then ultimately that will result in families and households being in a position to have one car outside the door instead of two or three, and that we'll make kind of meaningful progress towards our climate actions and emissions targets. And you hear about all of these buzz expressions like net zero by a certain time, and they're achievable if you've meaningful investment, in public transport, particularly in light rail in the likes of Cork and Galway.
And how will we improve kind of the scrutiny of these regional assemblies or regional governments? Because you said there's a layer between, say, the national and the local, and regional kind of fills that. But I suppose we don't really hear a lot about the work they're doing now. I'm sure there is a lot of work going on, but it doesn't seem to be in the public sphere a whole lot.
Yeah, that's a difficult question. And I suppose if you go back historically to when we joined the EEC initially, the GDP per capita in Ireland would have been lower than the European average, and we benefited, from a net inflow of funding. When the situation changed with our own economic progress and the accession of Eastern European countries into the European Union in the early 2000s, that changed a little bit, and our attitude towards regional government changed at the same time, because I suppose regional government was altered, I suppose, for want of a better expression, to position Ireland so that it could benefit from structural funding and infrastructural funding. And how do you improve that? I suppose just more emphasis, having more people talking about it. For it to be achieved, you probably at some point would need direct elections to the regional assemblies. But I don't think Ireland is ready to take that step yet. because I suppose if there is maybe a general, as Roisin alluded to in her earlier comments, a lack of knowledge at a national level in relation to the work that's done by the regional assemblies. But I suppose for it to become more meaningful at some point in the future, but we're probably a long way off that. If you had directly elected or direct elections to regional assemblies, then I suppose candidates and people interested in sitting on the regional assemblies would need to be, upfront in exactly what they hope to achieve, and give the public the opportunity to decide who best would represent them at a regional level.
And maybe you could time it to be with the local and European elections, possibly, if you were going to have direct elections.
Yeah, but look, I honestly think we're an awful long way off it at the moment, because I don't think it's something that's on top of the political agenda. I don't think it's on top of the public agenda, but that is something that might be worth working towards for regional government to have more of an impact, because sometimes it can get bypassed. And I think that's not a positive thing for the country. I think that for decisions impacting on our regions, that the more that can be made at regional level with local input, then I think that kind of results in strong delivery of key capital projects.
Absolutely.
We have been doing a series of, and it's very strategic, of local county councillors, because county councillors do so much work at local level, and then feeding all the local issues up the chain to the senators and to the TDs. And this really does, again, emphasise the work that local county councillors do.
It does, and I suppose a lot of the work, I was a councillor up until February for the last about slightly less than 5.5 years. But there are an awful lot of people around the country who've been serving on their local city and county councils for a lot longer than I did. And as you rightly say, a lot of that work goes unheralded. But at the same time, I think that the vast majority of the 949 city and county councillors around the country, have their fingers on the pulse of the needs of their own community, and are very good at delivering for their communities. And that's why you have such a high rate of return when it comes to the local elections. That's certainly one of the reasons.
And you are now a senator. As you said, you were a county councillor. This is the end of your first sort of term from January to the summer recess. How have you settled in as a senator?
I'm settled in reasonably well. So, there are 60 senators all in all, a lot of whom are new. There's a very good gender balance. We're not quite fully there, but of the 60 senators, I think we have 35 men and 25 women, which makes for a better balanced debate. The work of the Seanad tends to be less adversarial than the Dáil, so you'd have colleagues, with whom you could kind of sit down and have a cup of tea from different parties, and that mightn't necessarily be the case with TDs. But in our own group, then we have a group of 17 on the Fine Gael side, and 13 of us are first timers. So in that sense, there are a lot of us kind of learning the ropes together. And there's, I suppose, a lack of experience on one side, but a freshness then on another. And it's been a positive experience to date. Finding being away from the family a couple of nights a week can be kind of a bit difficult. But
because you're a strong family man.
Well,
four children, 5 children?
We've four. Yeah, we've four, and they're all primary school age and below. So so they're kind of still relatively young. So just trying to get that balance right, and kind of that's been the biggest adjustment, if I'm to be honest. The representational side of things, it's not entirely dissimilar from what you'd be doing as a councillor. Obviously, every senator has a particular spokesperson position. So in my case, I'm a party spokesperson on Justice in Northern Ireland. So
and I'm a dairy woman.
Okay. I didn't know that. No, until you said it. And again, look, when you're talking about regional government as well, like the contribution that I made so far was very much focused on the 26 counties, but we have to look towards building a brighter future for the whole of the island. And one of the committees I'm involved in is the implementation of the Good Friday Agreement, and one of the key cornerstones of that would be the shared island funding. So where you're looking at working with the Northern Ireland Executive and the UK government in co-funding projects that are of mutual advantage to all. So you'd have the likes of, on the infrastructural side, the A5 Dublin Donegal Road through Tyrone and Derry, and the likes of Casement Park, I suppose, in Belfast, which is quite contentious because I suppose the nature of Gaelic games and their association with one side, with one particular community in the north, but kind of working together on projects like that, you're building much more than a stadium. You're building a brighter future, and the more shared island work that can be done, particularly with the UK having withdrawn from the European Union. But the more work that we can do in that regard, to further reconciliation between communities, and ensure that people are working together, the better. That can only be positive.
It definitely can. So it's really good to know that you are the spokesperson for the North. So that's something we'll be ringing you about in the future.
Yeah, I look forward to receiving those calls.
As a Derry woman, and a Cork man, because Cork is twinned with Derry, I believe.
There was talk about it in the last council now that I was involved in. I don't think there is an official memorandum of understanding or an official twinning yet, but there were certainly steps taken. But the more cross-border initiatives now. One of my colleagues was up an Orange March last week, which is something that wouldn't have been possible 25, 30 years ago. And just like we're living on the same island, the better we understand each other, the easier it's going to be kind of to work together. And as I said, the cooperation in that regard can only bring positive outcomes.
It definitely can. And as a Derry woman, and you brought up the Good Friday Agreement, I remember that day like it was yesterday, and my daughter was only a baby at that time. So it was a great day. And I remember that night I lived in the country, and I could hear all the horns and everything all going in the city. So I remember that day as well. And again, the Good Friday Agreement and the whole time and the duration of the Good Friday Agreement.
Yeah, and even less than 4 years prior to that, I remember, as what age would I have been? A 15-year-old boy. I was over in Germany on a school exchange, the 31st of August 1994, when the first ceasefire was declared, these historic moments, we'll always remember them. And not to take peace for granted, I suppose, is a key thing, at European level, at national level, and to work together and understand each other better, as I said. And, there have been a number of strong contributions, we'll say, in Dáil and Shannon and at Joint Oireachtas Committee level recently. There were some powerful ones yesterday on the conflict that's taking place out in Gaza, and the British ambassador was in last week, and one point that I made to him was that, after the UK having chosen to leave the European Union, it still has an important role to play, because it's not the easiest thing as an Irish person to say, but I think that Europe will forever be in debt to the UK for the role it played in bringing about peace in Europe 80 years ago. And I think that when it comes to international conflicts that are taking place at the moment, that Europe, that Ireland, Europe, and the United Kingdom need to be stronger to show stronger leadership and to work towards peace, and to use the experience that we've had, in the run up to the historic Good Friday Agreement that you said yourself, to help bring about peace, in other parts of the world, particularly in Palestine.
And I believe the ambassador, the new American ambassador to Ireland, Edward Walsh, was in with the Taoiseach the other day.
I believe so. No, I'm not privy to anything that was discussed.
We'd love to be a fly in the wall.
Absolutely.
We have a parliamentary party meeting now later on, so the Taoiseach may well disclose some of the things were discussed. But look, Ireland-US relations, EU-US relations are at a difficult point. I think that we have the right people at EU level, with Commissioner Sefcovic having the Taoiseach as our Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade, capable, kind of cool-headed people, and I think that's what's needed when it comes to all of the talks about where the ongoing negotiations in relation to tariffs may go and the implications that they'll have for our economy. But the Taoiseach, and to be fair to the Taoiseach as well, I think it's something that he's been strong on, But I think that we're in good hands, and I hope that that there's more pragmatic leadership shown on the US side. That decisions that will have detrimental consequences on both sides of the Atlantic won't result.
We have an American correspondent. Last year before Christmas,
Yes.
November, October,
Yeah.
he said, or earlier this year, he said the tariffs were a trade negotiations. They weren't tariffs, but they were trade negotiations.
Yeah, look, I don't want to be kind of speaking too much about individuals, but I suppose the current incumbent of the office of the President of the United States has a particular style, and I wouldn't be a fan of the style that he has brought back since his return to the Oval Office. But I just hope that cool heads will prevail, and that we won't see the detrimental consequences that could result, if the negotiations and ultimately the decisions made in relation to tariffs go wrong.
We've been campaigning since when I was on local radio.
Yeah.
I was campaigning with my local business program about going back to the 80s campaign of Guaranteed Irish.
Yeah.
And Paul and I were walking
It's actually
up,
ironic.
and it's over there.
The office is just across the way
over
from us there.
Should we not be doing what we did in the 80s, is making sure that we buy from local Irish businesses and to improve the local economies and buy Irish?
Oh, I think that that Ireland as a country and Ireland as a people have changed dramatically over the last 50 years since our accession to the EEC. I think that we need to be more outward thinking. I think that we need to have confidence that our own businesses, if built on solid foundations, that they will thrive and succeed. And we will be able to compete internationally. I think to kind of revert to a solely kind of a guaranteed Irish, kind of prioritising that might be kind of cutting off our nose to spite our face, because if everybody else took that view, then our products mightn't be as successful on international markets, which they have certainly in the area of food production and the things that we're good at. But I absolutely do believe that we need to keep it positive, that we need to give Irish products and Irish companies every chance to thrive and survive. And I think that's what we're doing, and a lot of Irish companies are doing very well on the international stage, and I suppose
not locally, they're not. People are, because we're talking to them, and we're even talking to local county councillors.
Yep.
We're talking to people, and they're saying about we need to get another campaign of the 80s, the Guaranteed Island. Guaranteed Irish, buy Irish, because small local businesses are closing regularly.
Yeah, but I think there are kind of a whole variety of reasons for that happening, and that these need to be addressed, that businesses need to get the supports. You've had kind of a lot of lobbying, let's say, from the hospitality sector in relation to a VAT rate that would be kind of appropriate for the sector, to allow businesses that might be kind of struggling to thrive and survive. When it comes to, I think that like during the COVID pandemic, we got a lot of things right when it came to business supports, but we need to.
Everybody was buying online, and this is what small local traders are saying. Everybody's buying online. We need to go back to buying.
When I was a Cork City councillor, certainly the council kind of changed its stance in relation to outdoor dining, and that was something that was very much appreciated by restaurants and those involved in hospitality in the Cork area, and that there were kind of fees that would have been waived to make it easier for businesses, and that was a success. And you had streets that were open to traffic previously were closed off and pedestrianised on a temporary basis during some of the pandemic years, and had enormous success in the area of outdoor dining. And some of those have been now pedestrianised on a permanent basis. So you live and learn as you go along. But like the key thing is, not to close your eyes to the struggles and the challenges being faced by business, to assist business in whatever way you can, but to allow businesses to be competitive and to compete internationally as well as domestically.
Well, Senator Kelleher, thank you so much indeed for joining the Irish Political Roundup, and it's lovely to meet you up here on this beautiful sunny day outside the Doyle.
Thank you very much. No, it was a pleasure to join you both. Thanks, Roisin, and thanks, Paul.
So thank you for taking the time to listen to the Irish Political Roundup.
Bye for now.